little kitchen chaos today. I'm making a Campari olive oil cake. It is a recipe from the New York Times cooking section by Melissa Clark. And apparently it was very popular during the pandemic. I never made it because I didn't really have my own kitchen and it was uncomfortable to be in there. So trying it today. I'm doing a couple little substitutes. I don't have grapefruit, so I do have grapefruit juice, but I don't have fresh grapefruit, so I'm using lime zest. You use the zest of a lemon, an orange, and a grapefruit. I think it'll be fine because I do have the grapefruit juice, so I'm about to zest the orange. You use 3 eggs. I already made my dry mixture, which is flour, sugar. Oh, and I used a little brown sugar because I was short of regular sugar. I was a little short. And then there's also baking soda and baking powder in here. Is there anything else in here? I think salt, of course, and some butter. There's my grapefruit juice. So yeah, I am getting very close to doing the blending. Oh, and my olive oil is in the cupboard still. I'll show you, I'll catch up with you later. I just cut open the orange and it looks a whole lot like grapefruit. So I don't know what I have here. I had groceries delivered, so thought it was orange, but maybe it's grapefruit. I'm not sure. Okay, that was a regular orange. It just was pink. It was weird. I have one last sub. I'm using buttermilk instead of regular milk because that's what I have. I have half and half, so I might mix half of this with half and half. Although I read in the notes that somebody had used buttermilk and they thought it was great. Also, perk of having extra lemon. I get to put it in my soda. Okay, it's just about to go in the oven. It's a lovely pale pink, kind of peachy shade. The butter didn't break up, and this is a way more liquid batter than I'm used to for cakes, but let's see what happens. Okay, it's evening now because I had to wait for it to cool completely in the pan. So you can see it's not a high cake. It doesn't really rise all that much. It's more like it's a very dense, moist cake though. Apparently this is something that people have all over the Mediterranean region, but it is so good. Oh my God, guys. So delicious. It has this crispy crust. I mean, you could really make this fancy, like for a party or something, by just like putting whipped cream and maybe some mint leaves on it or something. But I'm going to be enjoying this for a while. I will it's supposed to keep for up to a week out on the counter. But I think what I'm gonna do is cut at least like 3/4 of it and put it in the freezer, like maybe in quarter chunks, to just take out over the next few weeks, but that'll be fun. Hi, welcome. My name is Shannon and this is my Knitter's Life series here on YouTube on my Whiskey and Wool channel. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Whiskey and Wool. On Instagram I have 4 O's in the word wool, but otherwise it's all mushed together, Whiskey and Wool. Welcome. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend with me here. I was just making sure I was recording because last episode 11 that I called 12, and I'm just going to go with it. So this is episode 13. We missed an episode. Maybe there'll be a lost episode at some point. Maybe I'll squeeze it in. Who knows? There might be something coming up this year still that I could use that lost episode for. But this is going to be episode 13. Just making sure I was recording because, I don't want another rehearsal. I usually just wing it and it comes out fine because I do have editing. So if there's anything that's particularly glaring, I cut it out. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here with me today. I am coming to you from New Jersey. I think I could still say northern New Jersey, yes. But I am as far east in New Jersey as you can be. I am right up against the Hudson River, right across from New York City. It's beautiful here. I love it. I live in a very urban neighborhood now. Absolutely love it. I recently moved, if you're new here. So there's a little bit of chaos happening, just generally in my life. But here I share mostly my knitting and fiber arts, as well as other things that I'm getting up to. And this is a little bit different episode in this season 3 than my season 3 has been chaos compared to season 1 and 2. And yeah, you saw a little kitchen chaos before. I don't know if I'm gonna there's not always gonna be that segment. It just so happened that I baked a cake and it was delicious. It was a Campari olive oil cake. I've made olive oil cake before. I absolutely love it. I had it for the first time when I went to Italy about 6 or 7 years ago. So good. I'm not someone who really loves sweet things. So a little hint of sweetness is about all I want. And that is just perfect. That Campari cake, it was definitely better the next day, because the flavors mingled and stuff, but it has like a little hint of citrus, and that citrus blend that ended up in it along with the Campari kind of just gave it this the Campari you just tasted a little bit of that herbal bitterness that Campari is known for, with the citrus and the just olive oil deliciousness in there. It was so good. I think I still have some in the freezer. I made that 2 weeks ago, actually. I made it right after I recorded my last episode, and then went right into the kitchen to make that cake. I'm probably gonna bake again before I have the itch to do some baking, so I probably will have more baking in the next episode, just a quick little segment like you just saw. But yeah, this is mostly about knitting. I throw in life stuff as well, so there was a lot of life stuff this season because of my moving, and I just earlier episodes will talk you through some of the organizational things that I did, and then some of the changes that I made in my current apartment. I haven't gotten anything or done anything in the apartment. I am still waiting for the closet work to happen, which I think will be sometime in September or October when that will happen. Really, really want that to happen before the holidays though, so I'm gonna push for it, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I'll keep you posted on that if that in fact is something that has to happen. I don't have a whiskey or gin chat. I had talked about taking a break from doing those for a little bit until my life kind of settled down. I did pick up a new gin though, and I was planning to do a gin chat for this episode, but I don't have time to do a gin chat this weekend. So I may film it. I'll probably film it at some point over the next couple weeks before my next episode and stick it in. I just need to get away from the thought process that I need to film it the day that I'm also filming this, because I don't at all. But I do like to use this camera, and most of between episode filming that I do it with my phone. With my phone camera. So I'm just having some lovely bubbly mineral water, which is kind of my go-to. I love this Italian mineral water that I can get at Whole Foods. So it's a little bit of an addiction, to be honest. I don't know why I like it so much. It has very little, it's not really super bubbly like Schweppes or some of those other brands of seltzer. So I just really enjoy it. I use it as a mixer when I have my gin and seltzer or whatever. But yeah, mostly just drink it plain with ice. It's so good. It's like my thing. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about knits. I do have one finished object. And
And I don't have Martha here today because the finished object that I have is still actually blocking. But it's wet and blocking on the blocking mats. Before I did that, before I blocked it, I filmed a clip because I suspected it would still be wet when well, I knew it would still be wet because I literally finished it this morning. And it, yeah, it's on the mats. Watch the clip where I go over it, and I will put in some edits, some info, some yarn info and stuff like that. Yeah, everything you need is in this upcoming clip.
I finished my Vertices Unite by Stephen Westr. I thought it might be easier to show it to you laying out. It hasn't been blocked yet. I literally just cast it off like an hour ago and then just got up and did some other stuff. But I wanted to film it because I think it's easier to see this way. I'll step back a bit. It doesn't fit on the end of my bed. It's a little bit longer. It's dripping off the side, which we'll look at in a minute. Notice a hair right there. So it hasn't been blocked. It's actually going to get bigger, and these garter rows will spread out. But it's still pretty substantial. It's going to make a really beautiful shawl. This is a gift for one of my sons. His birthday is in October, and I'm so glad that I got this done early. So here's the rest of it. So there you can see the whole thing along with my mischievous kitty. But yeah, so it's pretty big. I think it's pretty big. My bed is a double bed size, so it's probably like, yeah, it's got quite a wingspan. All right, so I used a bunch of stash yarn that I had to make this. My son's favorite color for his whole life has been green, and I just really love this beautiful green color. I don't know what that is. This is from a indie dyer who no longer dyes, and Twisted Fintch is the dyer's name. He was a Scottish, I think he was from Scotland. I don't know what he's up to now. He was a young man at the time that I bought this. I probably have had this in my stash at least 5 years. And then this light, it's actually a mint color, but it looks gray. That's from Life in the Long Grass. That is naturally dyed using red cabbage, which is really weird to me that you could get a mint green from red cabbage. And all of the rest of the colors, the dark color that's in here, and then you can also see it here on the trim. This color, this variegated like brown. Actually, it looks a little lighter on screen than it is in life. It's a really rich brown, not so yellowy as it looks. And then the two that are in here are all from the Zakami Yarn Company's 12-day advent from 2022. It was all of these sort of woodsy colors. So I used 2 mini skeins for one of these colors here, and then I used 2 mini skeins for the other color. In this section, it's 1 and 1 mini skein, and then this is 1 mini skein here, and then over here I used another mini skein along with that mint. The dark green was a full skein, the minty green was a full skein, this was a full skein. I didn't use up this or the minty green. I did use up the dark green. In fact, I was I-cord binding off, and I got to like here and had to I grabbed one of the mini skeins and just finished off the trim, so you can see like that's what that looks like. But I think it looks nice. I actually wish I had enough of that to do the whole border. I think that would have been a really pretty border for this shawl. But yeah, I'm excited to get it on the blocking mat and get it gifted. So we have a little while. I'll try to remember, and at some point, if you follow me on Ravelry or if you're friends with me on Ravelry, when I gift it to him, I will take a picture of him in it, so that will go up as my Ravelry project, my main Ravelry project page image.
Welcome back. I'm also not wearing any knits because we're having a killer hot humid day here. It rained all day yesterday and all through the night. I woke up and my windows were coated with water and raindrops, and it was, you know, raining up until about 9 a.m. Now it's just really humid and warm out. It's going to be close to 90 today. August. We actually usually get a little bit cooler weather in August, so we get like these really hot days interspersed with cooler weather. Yesterday was kind of cold, I have to say. It was like in the 60s Fahrenheit, which is, you know, kind of cold for a summer day in August. But yeah, it's super humid, so I have the windows shut and the air conditioner's running, but I turned the one off in the room I'm in right now. So yeah, no knits. Sorry, I'm wearing one of my really simple linen t-shirts, which is pretty much my uniform for summer. Linen t-shirt and denim shorts or a skirt, something like that. Let me get into my whips. I also have some new cast-ons. I'm gonna do the most boring one first. I did make progress on this. The longest pair of sock knitting project ever. So last time I told you I was working on shorty socks for one of my sons for Christmas. I like to make last year anyway, I figured out how to make socks for each of them, like shoes, you know, working on their shoe size and stuff. This guy loves wearing shorty socks, so I thought maybe shorty socks might be good for him. This is the Bearpaw pattern by Andrea Mowry. It's a toe-up sock with a fleagle heel, which I freaking love to knit because it doesn't, I don't feel like when I do a heel flap, and I haven't done a lot of them, when I do a heel flap, it feels very much like, oh, I'm at the heel. That needs to wait until I have time to concentrate on it. With this heel, the flap part is done as a series of decreases, and you do these series of increases for the instep. And those are very easy. I can just keep going. It's just increase every other row on the back needle until you double the amount of stitches. Keep going. It's and then you do this these series of decreases for the back of the heel. I just find it really easy to do, and I love the fit of the 2x2 rib that Andrea designed on this sock. So I engineered the pattern, her fingering weight pattern, to be DK weight. And then she came out with Bearpaw in the late fall last year. That's a DK weight version. I, however, still use my modified version because I use a smaller needle. It's a 3mm needle. And I had already worked out the sizes that I need for everyone in my family. So aside from Julie, my granddaughter, whose size of her feet change constantly. So yeah, I finished one. Last time I think I was like here. So finished that up. So easy. Took me less than an hour. And I've done some significant work on sock number 2.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Oh my gosh, Siri, go away.
Sorry about that. I don't know what triggers her. She's been doing that. I was on a Zoom call, and she got triggered, but I don't think anybody heard her except me, because I was muted. I was like, what the hell, man? Anyway, second sock. I'm working on the heel increases now. So yeah, it's coming along. I'm trying to just get this done. This has been on my needles for a very long time. And usually I can knit a pair of socks in about a week, maybe 2 at the most, if I'm sort of slow, because I knit a lot in meetings, and actually most of this sock I did in meetings because the school year is starting up again. I am an administrator and professor at a college university near me. Will not be named because we have bots that look for our name, and the university, not me personally, but we have the university has bots that looks for mentions of the college, university, and then it, you know, they look at that. So I don't want to draw their attention to this because this has nothing to do with my job. I'm just telling you my job because it's usually something interesting to people. But anyway, I sit in a lot of meetings. Most of them are on Zoom during the academic year, which starts, we start on Monday, the 28th, and go through like early May. So in those meetings, I often knit. So nice mindless ribbing is easy to do. So yeah, I did most of this. I shaped the toe before the meeting, and then in the meeting did all of this. And it was, you know, just about a little over an hour, that meeting. So I did pretty good. Probably finish this sock this week because there are a ton of meetings as we get back into it. Yeah, so that was a little knitting, a little bit about me. In case you're new here, or maybe I don't talk about myself all that much, I don't think. The yarn is Old Stash, Deep Stash from Stranded Dyeworks. I have not seen this colorway Batcave dyed for quite some time, from Stranded, and it is an MCN base. Jude used to call the MCN Paradise. That's how old this is. I think Jude stopped using names for their bases, I don't know, years ago, I want to say like 4 years ago. I switched to just calling them what they are. So this would now be just an MCN from Jude. But I had said I'm doing the DK sock, and this is a fingering weight. So I'm holding 2 strands together. I really hope I use up most of this. I don't think I will. I will use up a lot of it, but probably not even half of what's left because I'm doing shorty socks. So yeah, these are for one of my sons. So I also realized, like, I was looking at my Instagram and I really don't post too often there. So I wanted to just point out that this kid and his partner are very active on Instagram. So I do not post anything that I'm making for them. And then one of my oldest son, who's the dad of my granddaughter, and his wife are very active on Instagram. He's not that active, but his wife is. So anytime I want to surprise them, I don't post on Instagram. So this and the shawl, the Vertices Unite that I just finished, is also for this guy, for his birthday. And the next thing I'm going to show you is for my granddaughter for her birthday. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is why I haven't been posting. I'm knitting all these gifts for people that I want to be surprises. I do have a couple things coming up that are for me, and for one of my sons who's not on Instagram at all, and I have not yet met his, I don't know if they're partners yet, but he's dating somebody and it seems serious, so I haven't met her yet, but he told me soon, which is exciting. So, and I think she's active on Insta, but since she doesn't follow me yet, although my account is not private at all, so she could find me. Anyway, moving on to my whips, through my whips. I showed you this last time. This is the Love Note pattern by TinCanknits, and I am making a Love Note size 4 years for my granddaughter Julie for her birthday. Her birthday is also October. And yeah, I probably would have finished the body if I didn't cast on new things, but here we are. But it's coming along. I've got about half the body done. You only knit about 6 inches for these kid sweaters. I love making kid sweaters. And I made some progress from last time. Last time I didn't have the yoke done. Well, I freaking love this. It's so bright and cheerful. It's so wonderful to be working on something bright. I just love it. And the yarns are from Bien Aimée. These are the very first Bien Aimée yarns I ever bought. I'm following the pattern yarn recommendation. It's a strand of fingering weight with a strand of mohair. These are the same color. They were a special one-of-a-kind color called Reunite. that La Bien Aimée made, and I think I bought them in 2018. I think it was 2018. So these have been in my stash for quite some time. I'm very happy to see them knit up. I really hope I use a lot of it. I think I'll finish this. I may not finish this because La Bien Aimée's mohair silk is a lot of yardage. It's like 575 yards, I want to say, something like that. It's the yardage is tremendous unless she's changed her the put up 547 yards for 50 grams. So that's a pretty decent sized skein. And then this is single ply, which it's some of the last single ply in my stash, because I just realized that once I knit about 10 or 12 shawls for myself, I was like, no more shawls. And I really don't like using single ply for sweaters or things that take a little bit more harder wear, that need harder wearing. But yeah, anyway, last couple single plies, and I just love the way the fabric that it is making, these two are making together. I love the way the colors are, you know, kind of jiving and mixing. It's just so good. So good. Okay. And nice big fat needles. This should be done next time I see you. I don't see why not, because it's now the project. Well, the sock is pretty close to being done. Between the sock and this, they're very close to being done. And usually what happens is that I just kind of nudge my projects along until one gets close to being finished, and then I'm just like, okay, this one, and I just, you know, work on that as much as possible, like circumstances being what they can be for the project. Like yesterday I was watching a show. I was watching Foundation. I love that show so much. It's complex and there's always all these moving parts in it and stuff, and I always think I really need to pay attention. So I was doing the I-cord bind off on the Vertices Unite mostly, and then I had to put that down and work on this next thing that is a brand new cast on, and I don't have much to show other than about a 1/2 inch of ribbing, but at least I can talk about it. So this is yeah, I forgot. Wait, let me jumping around a little bit too much. Chaos in my brain. Yeah, so Foundation, I really love it. I like to concentrate on it. We're in the second season, and it's on Apple TV, and they drop an episode a week, and yeah, I really like it. It's based on books written by Isaac Asimov that he wrote in the 50s, and it's really interesting, like how forward-thinking he was in his writing, because there's definitely things that were really just kind of crazy. You know, no one would ever have done that type of thing in like cloning in the 50s. Like that was a, you know, someone's thought, dream, not reality like it is now. Although we haven't cloned people, thankfully. I don't think, anyway. I might be wrong. So I picked this up to knit instead. A little easy 1x1 knit. This is the Tessellated Vest, can you tell? By Andrea Mowry. I'm making a second one. I had showed the yarn a couple episodes back as new acquisitions. I wanted to use up some of the copious amounts of spin cycle that I've collected. So I was just kind of thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I know Moondrake has this really bright green, kind of bright murky yellow green, citron green. It's actually called Sprouts. That I was like, that would be really cool, because what I noticed in looking at so many of the examples that you can find, because so many people are making this vest and sweater, it's also a pullover now, was that the floof seemed to carry the show. Like it seemed to leap out and, you know, make these people's sweaters, you know, that was the color you noticed, the floof in many cases. So yeah, I I wanted a green vest. So I was like started to scheme about which of my, dozen or so spin cycle skeins would work with that. And I ordered this from Brooklyn General in Brooklyn. She's in Brooklyn, so very close to me, so the shipping's pretty quick. I get it in a day or two. But this is Moondrake Fua Fua in the colorway Sprouts, which was like a spring color, I think, that she did. I don't think you can find it on Moondrake's website. I noticed that she's changing her colors with the seasons. So some of the colors that I had purchased from her earlier this year, you could no longer get. And I'm using this spin cycle. It's kind of neutral and boring. You're not going to believe what color this is. This is Castaway. But not anything like the gold in there, the like rusty orangey color. That's typically in Castaway. But there's usually turquoise in there, and there is some blue. It's kind of reading as gray. And it's like a blue-gray, but there's usually like some bright blue. And this skein just did not get bright blue for whatever reason. And this is also a second, so that might be, I don't know if that's why it's a second. Usually the seconds have like where the fiber, there's too much fiber and the spin wasn't tight, so there would be like a slub, I guess is the word I'm looking for in there. So anyway, I just thought that orangey color with the green would look really great. I only have one skein of this, but I have other skeins that have a lot of gray, and there is a bit of pink in there. I don't know if you can see it, like right in the center. So I have some leftover pink and gray from Spin Cycle that I'll probably just put in here at some point. And I have another skein that's gray with green. It's also a second. I bought it at their second sale last year. I want to say, I don't remember what color it is. It actually isn't that far off, but it has a lot of gray. So I ended up with like 2 or 3 skeins from them that had a lot of gray in them. So yeah, it'll be these with this beautiful black yarn. So this is my palette. I think I posted this on Instagram as well a while back. This black yarn is from Les Garçons. Do I have the tag? The tag is in here. I guess I can pull it out since I'm knitting this skein and it'll get all used up. Oh, sorry, I've got the sniffles. It's part of their new British sport base, and when I stashed it, probably by now other people have had it, but when I stashed it on Ravelry, I was the first person to make stash with this yarn. So it's a brand new base. They announced it a couple episodes back, like I want to say 2 episodes, maybe 3 episodes back. They announced this base, British Sport. This is Moira's Black Rose color. It is, can't read the label. It is 75% BFL, 25% Masham, non-superwash. So far I like it. I mean, I've only knit about a half inch, but so far I really like it. It's really delightful. What I really liked about it, what made me get there is, one, it was a sport, and I really had been wanting to try some of their British wool, but it's also a really black. It's really hard to get a black of indie dyed wool. But this is like pretty black. I really like it, and I think I'm gonna just really love this vest so much. I wanted to just say one other thing. This is my second tessellated vest. I made one and talked about it in the last episode, and you actually could see it in the clip. You could see a little bit of the knitting in the clip of my Scottish fold kitten. I've now hopelessly tangled up this yarn. So this tessellated vest, I made a 4 last time, and it was really kind of baggy around the waist and like upper hip on me. I did make the rib longer, so Andrea suggests like 1.5 inches of rib, and I had made 3 inches, which I'm planning to do with this as well. Andrea's short-waisted and I'm not, so I understand why she did a short rib. It works on her, but I really like the look of a longer rib on a vest, like kind of like the academic vest by Skein Deer that I made earlier this year. So I'm going to do 3 inches of rib, and I wanted it to be snugger, so I decided to cast on the number of stitches recommended for the size 3, and then I'm going to do a row of increase before I start the pattern to get it back up to size 4. So that gives me about 25, 24 fewer stitches than what the 4 recommended, so it'll be a little bit, it'll pull in a little bit. The entire time I was knitting the other vest, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so big. But when I blocked it, it blocked out fine. It just, like the way the fabric is, it's almost like the way, you know, when you do garter, because garter stitches are rectangular, where knit stitches are rectangular this way, garter stitches are rectangular this way when you're knitting them, but when you block, they become more square because you end up pulling the stitch open, so it shifts the wool around. And with mosaic knitting, it seems like it's that way too. Like because this is a mosaic knit pattern, the stitches kind of sit more rectangularly than, you know, this way, squat. They're squat, and then I think they pull open, so everything kind of shifts. And the size was fine. Like like I said, even though like as I was knitting it, I was like, wow, this is really wide and seems short, but I followed the directions in terms of, no, I made it a little longer. I'll have to look at my notes to make sure, because I like the length that I came up with for that one, so I'll have to pay attention to what I did for that. But yeah, that is my one of my new cast-ons. I have one more new cast-on. I'm whipping on through this. Okay. This is yet another shawl that will be a gift for one of my sons. This son's birthday is in December. You'll see this on Insta because this guy is not on Insta. But this is, oh my goodness, I hope I don't regret choosing this pattern. This is Chevronopolis by Maxim Sear from Les Garçons. And I mean, I love the look of this pattern. I love the way the finished object looks. I just did not realize that, and it said mosaic, so I'm fine with that. It's a mosaic knit pattern. It's color work, 2 colors that you use almost the same amount of both colors, both color yarns. It's just that it's a 64 row repeat. So this is, I've done 64 rows right here. Would you not think that this would be 64 rows? This is 64 rows. So this is one repeat, and you do the repeat 8 times. I think it's a total of 8 times. Yes, I think. I hope it gets easier. I mean, after I finished, I was like, oh, okay, now I get what I did. But doing it was really intense because I had to read, like every single row I had to pay attention. But once, like when I got, you could see that I cast on down here, it was only a few stitches, and then you slowly are growing the shawl out that way, and it ends up being like kind of a, not a triangle exactly, it is a triangle, but it's not a symmetrical triangle, and ends up being an asymmetrical triangle shape. And I could see, like, as you got to the longer rows, once you knew what you had to do, and the repeat in the row is pretty easy to recall or remember, like, you know, slip 2, knit 3, whatever, something like that. But every row you're doing something different. You're doing a different sequence. So I guess as you get to the longer rows, and I should be able to now that I've done a repeat of the rows, I should be able to read the pattern, like read what I'm doing with ease without like stressing over, oh my goodness, am I doing this right? Is this the way it should look? And the pattern is beautifully written. There's written instructions. It's also charted so you can see all of that. It looks great. I think it's going to be a wonderful man's, accessory. It's a wonderful person's accessory. I don't mean to genderize it, but anyway, it's pretty, right? So I'll tell you about the yarn. I dug into my stash. I'm very excited to see what happens with the lighter of the two colors. Let me show you the semi-solid first. Max's, he used like a beige, I want to say, like somewhere in those warm winter white tones for one color, and then I think he used Spin Cycle for the other color, a more color shifting yarn for the other color. So I'm using a variegated. I just wanted to use stash. I didn't want to have to buy yarn for this, and I have so much stash that I'm really trying to do a stash down. I've been stash downing for I've been like tiptoeing towards drastic stash downing. I'm probably in the tightest mode of stash down that I could be in before I do some drastic like donating stuff or whatever. But I'll talk more about, my plans for the year in January, and I also do a recap of how I did the year before. So you can stay tuned for that if you're interested. So I'll be talking more about that in detail at the end of this year, early next year, just depending on how my vacation lays out and what time I have. So yes, trying really hard to work through yarn. I am using this color. So these are his favorite colors right here, all in this skein. He loves like vibrant blues and purple. And I had a sweater's quantity of this for me. It wasn't enough yarn to make a sweater for him. And I just thought, I have probably knit him the fewest things only because he never asks for anything. He just never asks. And the one I'm making the socks and I've made the shawl for, that guy, he asks me all the time. So I'm like, oh, okay. And he's also small. He's a small guy. So, he's perfectly fine, but he's on the smaller side in that gender. So he's easy to knit for. He and I probably could exchange clothes. So, this boy is my biggest boy. He's tall and a big guy. He wears a fairly large size. So I have told him that I would knit him a sweater, but his weight varies. So it's also hard to know like what would be a good size, and I kind of want the sweater to last more than a year. So he goes up and down the scale, but he seems to sort of have stabilized. He's in his late 20s. But yeah, anyway, back to the yarn. Enough about my socks. This is Knitter's Life, so you are getting life stuff. Magpie Fibers, that's what this is. This is their MCN base, and it is a special colorway. Let's see if I managed to, nope, I didn't keep the labels in here, but I have them in a bag handy. Yeah, so it is their MCN 80-10-10, 80 merino, superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. The color it's called their Happy Winter Solstice color. They did their very first winter solstice countdown calendar for the month of December 2 years ago for 20, and my skein just rolled away, so I hope you saw enough of it. They did a countdown calendar for the first time in 2021, and I bought it because I was like, this is going to be special. And they were following the astronomy. They were following like the movement of the planets, like according to astrology, and what big major events were happening in astrology in the month of December. So there was like a skein of yarn. Every big event, there was a skein of yarn to open. It was really fun. And they were gorgeous, gorgeous yarns. I think I used some of it. They were all 50 gram skeins. And I didn't buy last year. I know they did it last year too. They did it in 2022, and I'm pretty sure they're doing it for 2023. I had not purchased theirs this year either. But it was a fun thing. There were a lot of other extras, and you can go back if you're curious what it's like before you purchase. You can go back and watch my Vlogmases from past years to see, because I do talk about them and show the packages as I open them. Okay, so that's the main color. That's the this like blue right here that you're seeing through here, and that's pretty much, that should be the way it'll look through the entire shawl. This other color is one of my hand spuns, and it is a self-striping hand spun, and I think it looks freaking awesome. I am so excited to get to the colors. So I'm just getting to the tail end of the first color and moving into this bright turquoisey color. I made 3 skeins of this yarn. I have I think it came out to be about 1,200 yards, which again, sweater's quantity for me, but I mean, I gotta use this yarn, you know? So this is same yarn, same fiber. This is another skein from that same fiber mix, so you can kind of get an idea of the wide variety of self-striping that I ended up with. And then the last one leans more blue. So I think this is probably the one I'm going to use. I may not use it all. I don't think I need to use all 3. I'm curious to see. I don't remember what the yardage is in each one. So I have a feeling this is going to go a pretty long way, this one skein. And then from there, I'll figure out what to use next, like how much I need. I'm not sure how much I'll need. So yeah, so I've got the self-striping going on in this shawl. It should look pretty interesting. I can't wait to get to the long rows where I start using more of this and you really start seeing the color changes. I made this yarn I made, it's a 2-ply. I spun it from loop fiber. If you're a spinner and you're curious about, oh, that's cool, how'd you do that? Loop fiber does what she calls bullseye bats. And I do have one in my stash, and I'm hoping to pick up some from her at Rhinebeck. She always goes to Rhinebeck. She's got a very small media presence. She's more of one of those people who is in her studio creating all the time and not really out talking about it. So occasionally I'll see little posts on Instagram, but not much. And I think she has an Etsy shop that she sells on, but mostly she gets most of her business by working shows. So I've seen her at Vogue, and I've seen her at Rhinebeck in my area, Vogue Knitting in New York. You may know her from the yin yang yarn. So if you've seen people talk about, like, I know Jude talked about the yin yang yarn recently. The Knit Girls have used the yin yang yarn. So same person, Steph of Loop Fiber, does these bullseye bats that pretty much are in these rolls that you pull from the center. It's a center pull fiber bump, and you just spin it. And there's all different ways. I've bought for ever since I've started spinning, I've been buying her fiber bullseye bumps, and they're really cool to spin, and the fiber is gorgeous. It's very fine merino, super soft, extra fine merino. Sometimes with sparkle, sometimes not. There is a little sparkle in this, not a lot. And what I did with these, I had one that was primarily sort of these turquoise and blues, like these shades, because as you know, if you've been here a while, you know that's my favorite color, and it pops up a lot in my projects and yarn. I like other colors too, though. I'm not like Gigi, who only loves orange. I'm sure she likes other colors too, but you always orange with her. I'm not turquoise. I mix in other stuff. So I had one bullseye bump that was primarily turquoise and shades of blue, and then I had another bullseye bump that was primarily like other colors, like this wine color and gold and I guess there was some green in there and maybe some purple and stuff like that. So I spun them together. So I spun one of the Bullseye bats on, 3 bobbins, and then I spun the other Bullseye bat on 3 bobbins, and then I plied them. So that's how I ended up with this self-striping yarn. So it's exciting to see how it's going to end up being. And I actually really want to do that technique again, using like one that's primarily yellows and then a rainbow. I think that would be really fun because she has Bullseye bats that are rainbow. Not exactly Roger bib, but close. So I thought that would be fun. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. I looked for them at Vogue. She didn't bring fiber to Vogue. She only brought her yin yang yarn. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to make a go of like trying to knit the next repeat and see. It's so funny too. I was watching Les Garçons' latest episode today. They just posted last night. They like to do the happy hour, so I guess it's usually posting on a Friday. So you can sit down with your own glass of wine and knitting or a drink, whatever your cocktail or drink beverage of choice is, and check them out. Max was saying that he's kind of a lazy knitter and he likes easy knits, and I'm like, not this one. This doesn't seem easy. I mean, it's not hard. It's just you have to pay attention. So it's different from a pattern like the Tessellated Vest is something that you can easily knit without thinking about it. It's pretty easy pattern. So that is all my knitting. I'm going to talk a little bit about spinning right now. Just a little bit. I talked about this spinning last time, and I didn't have the finished skein. I did put it as a picture, as my cover photo for the episode. So I just thought I would show you. I haven't done any other spinning. I've been really uninspired, I have to say, to spin. And I have the next skein prepped. I just haven't spun it. I think for me, like this particular spinning project, it's going to be a total of 3 skeins, maybe 4. No, it'll be a total of 4 skeins. I don't have a project in mind for it, like a knitting project, even though like once it's done, it'll probably be really, really, I mean, look at that. It's so great. So this, to recap what I did, I spun from the fold. This is John Arbin Textiles comb top, commercial top. It's really affordable. Not only is it spectacular, it's super affordable. And usually I've bought their fiber before, and normally I just spin it and ply it, and it ends up being like very blendy. And if you buy yarn from them, you can see that. Like it's one of those yarns that from afar it looks like brown, but then you get up close and you see all of the colors that are in there. So this was similar, only I spun from the fold to kind of keep those colors from blending as much as they would if I just did like short forward draw or long draw or something like that. And that was fun. And that was new for me. And so now that I've done it and I see the result, it's pretty. I love it. I want the whole thing to be done, but I don't have the incentive to do it because I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I guess this happens to everybody, right? Where you just get to this point where you're just kind of uninspired. I also think part of it is that, like, in my new house, in my new setup, my new apartment, I haven't really figured out a really good place to spin. I actually think where I'm sitting right now, this is my home office. It's a secretary desk. This opens, and this is where I work when I work from home. Generally, I also sit on the couch, but like my couch is a little too low to spin from. I have a really cozy chair that's the best of the, and then I have like a dining room chair, but it's all not perfect. It all lacks perfection. I don't know. I mean, I had a whole like setup at my other place. Like, it was bigger. My old house was bigger, and I had like a separate, it was always set up so I could just sit down and spin for 20 minutes or half hour or whatever. Here it's kind of a to-do. I need to get the spinning wheel and set it up in front of the chair and yeah, maybe once I get the closets done, I'll have a little more space because I'll be able to store stuff that's kind of hanging around right now. Not my spinning wheel, but other stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I also started, before I moved, I started a project where I was spinning my, an advent calendar, a fiber countdown calendar that I got from Akara Yarns, and I made it like halfway through and stopped. And I was spinning those. I was inspired by Fat Squirrel Fibers. She had, Amy Beth had done a ply of fiber that she spun with a ply of mohair, and I just thought that was so ingenious. So I started to do that, and especially because I had, like, these were small little bat bumps, like 10, 15 grams, and I have dribs and drabs of mohair, so I was using my dribs and drabs, and it was like great. But I got halfway through that and stopped too, because I was sort of like, that was another like, let me see how this works. And then when I figured it out, I was like, okay, that was fun. I'm done now. Again, like, I don't have anything in mind for those. However, I'm more likely to knit them if they're spun, rather than go, oh, I really want that, I need to spin it, and then I can knit it. Yeah, it's interesting, right? The way motivation works, like how, I know there's a whole field of motivational studies and stuff, people that study motivation. So I'm sure they have plenty to say about that stuff. Yeah, and I've been like looking at other people's spinning, because we're just off Tour de Fleece, and there was a lot of spinning happening during Tour de Fleece. And I've been looking at other people's posts of their spinning, and those like bright, cheerful, colorful spinning that they're doing. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. And then I look at my stash and I'm like, nothing in here is really kind of like that. So I don't know. Am I at the point where I need to buy some fiber to give myself a boost to do some spinning? Maybe. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But don't be surprised if you don't see spinning for the next couple episodes while I sort of brood or ruminate over what I really want to spin. Yeah, I might just end up doing, well, may as well finish this. I mean, I actually have the next skein all prepped. It's ready. I just have to sit down. The only thing that I need to fix is that my mischievous Scottish fold. So I didn't say, but I share my home with a very lazy, cute, sweet British short hair. He's silver, he's gorgeous, but he's very lazy, and he's sort of an introvert and really doesn't like being held, and he'll, come over and snuggle with me for like a hot minute, and then he's off by himself under the bed or whatever, in a cubby, sleeping. And I also have a very mischievous, very affectionate, very friendly, very in your face Scottish fold kitten who is 7 months. And yeah, so my, where was I going with that? My Scottish fold kitten chewed off the lead on the bobbin that I have pre-loaded on my spinning wheel. So I need to create a new lead on that bobbin. So yeah, it's just kind of another delay. That's also another problem with spinning right now, is that he does, if I leave anything hanging, so if I start the spin and then want to stop, leave the bobbin on the spinning wheel, he will play with the fiber that's dangling. So I have to leave a very short fiber hanging. I can't leave a chunk hanging. So that's another detriment. So I kind of am makes me want to finish a bobbin. If I sit down, I just want to finish the bobbin. And it really, honestly, like for me, I don't know how it is for other spinners, but for me, like I can pretty much, I don't spin more than 50 grams at a time, because I have a Kromsky Sonata. I bought it used. When I learned to spin from Alex Creates at Green Goat Ranch, hi Sarah if you're here, hi Alex if you're here. When I learned from Alex how to spin, he said, buy any spinning wheel you can get your hands on. They're all good. They're all fine. Buy a working one. Don't buy one that needs repair, but buy a working. Any one you can get your hands on. That's within your budget or whatever. E-spinner, treadle, whatever you can get. And spindles work fine too. So if you want to learn how to spin, a spindle's fine. So I looked on Craigslist that night and found a Kromsky Sonata that was being sold by someone who could no longer spin. And so I got it for like half what it would have been retail. And yeah, I picked it up the next week, and she was local to me. It was so fortuitous, like it was meant to be, like, because I've looked since, because I understand why people have more than one, and I've looked since to get a second one, and I never see any in my area. Actually, fiber festivals are a really good place to check out. Not Rhinebeck, because Rhinebeck tends to be, well, they do have some, but they tend to more have old, like, vintage stuff. Not that there's nothing wrong with vintage spinning wheels. Like mine, I think was made, it's dated on the bottom, and I want to say it's 2008, and I picked it up in 2019. She didn't use it much, the woman that I bought it from. But yeah, anyway, so I have this Kromsky Sonata, and the bobbins, the small bobbins that I use for my single plies, don't hold more than 50 grams. So, and then the jumbo bobbins, I can push them to hold up to like 130 or maybe 140 grams. But generally 50, like I always try to aim for 100 grams. So more or less like around 100 grams or 4 ounces, 113 or 15 grams for my skeins when they're plied. So I usually break down the fiber in that way. So if I'm doing a 3-ply, it'll be 30-ish grams per bobbin, and then together they become 100. Or if I'm doing a 2-ply, it's 50 grams. So a 50-gram chunk of fiber I can spin for fingering or sport weight in about an hour, a little bit longer, maybe an hour and 15. So it doesn't take me that long. So a show or two, or a show and a half, I can usually get through the bobbin. Yeah, so challenges. I am coming up on an hour, so I'm going to leave you with one more segment. I've spoken about this before, but I haven't really spoken about it in depth. I have an MFA that I got in, I graduated in 2002, and it's a Master's of Fine Arts. So I'm a trained artist. I did a lot of shows. I exhibited. I'm lean more towards sculpture, towards 3D than 2D, but I do really love drawing. I like that medium. I have never really gotten into painting, but drawing, illustrating, different mediums, oils, like oil pastels or charcoal drawings, I really, really love. I actually really love charcoal drawing. I really love ink drawings too. Charcoal does degrade unless you protect it with a laminate. So charcoal drawings will degrade over time, and also the paper, unless you use archival paper, it'll turn yellow. So yeah, anyway, I have all of this. I don't use it much. I don't use it in my career at all. I did for a while because I did teach art classes. I used to teach jewelry making, and I mean metalwork. Like, I don't mean beading and stuff like that. We did metalwork. So I taught them how to solder, and they learned how to shape metal and hammer and all of that stuff. Like, do fine finishing and stuff like that. So, and setting stones. So that kind of metalwork. But But yeah, I do draw, and I just kind of got this itch to, because I'm, in a new space. It's kind of a new chapter. It's, all of these things. So I kind of got this itch to do some drawing. So I ordered some drawing supplies from an online source. And yeah, so anyway, there's a little clip about that. I'm going to stop talking and repeating everything that I talked about before. So I would be remiss not to mention 2 new podcasters who just started this past couple weeks. One is Roseman Knits, dear Instagram friend. Go watch her. She's very deserving of an audience, and I think you'll enjoy. She knits a lot of very bright, colorful things, and she talks about also her life. But I quite enjoyed listening to her talk about her knitting journey and all of that. So I hope you have time to check her out. She always comments here too, often comments here, so you may see her down in the comments, and that might be another way you could find her. But I'll also have her in the description box. I'll have her Instagram handle and the title of her YouTube channel. I also quite enjoyed watching Christopher of Flannel and Pearl, I think is the name of his Instagram, and he has a podcast now. He's calling Flannel and Pod. Very, very fun, engaging knitter. So you may want to also check him out if you have some time, if you haven't already seen either one of those. Highly recommend. And I'm going to leave you here with that. So little video about my art, little videos about the cats, and that's all that I've got for you this week. Enjoy your next couple weeks, and I'll be back with more content pretty soon. Bye.
Since I've been here, I was inspired to buy this oil set, oil pastel set. I thought I would give it a try. I had a couple ideas, just so you can see the front. I had a couple ideas for some drawings, and I certainly don't have room for any more artwork. But I thought I would I don't know, I just had these like creative impulses that I just wanted to get into. So I also bought this paper, which I really love because it is colored, which kind of adds a different dimension to your drawings, and of course there's white. So right now I'm just practicing. I'm using a charcoal pencil, which I've had for a while. So I'm just practicing making lines. These are getting closer to what I want. So it's going to be a lot of just practicing making drawings. My idea is for a very big, not a fairly big drawing that's just a single line. So I'm just trying to sort of play around with it. That's one idea I have. I have some other ideas that will involve these and some colors. So I'm just going to play a bit and see what I get. And perhaps by the time I film my next episode, maybe I'll have something to show. Maybe I won't, but I'll just show this clip. I'm happy to discuss the meaning behind the piece if there's interest. So let me know in the comments.